Hey, how's it going? I'm Chris from the Griswolds, and today we're going to be talking about some of our beautiful instruments. This is my not-so-Fender Jazzmaster. I actually made this myself a couple of years ago, so yeah, it's not an old Fender. It's a Whitehall brand. I've always loved Jazzmasters, but I guess to get a really nice one back in Australia, they're worth a pretty penny. They're worth probably around $4,000, and also I just didn't really like the look of any of them. So when it came to kind of setting this bad boy up, I was like, well, I want a guitar that I actually like, in a color that I like, with pickups that I like, and I can make it for around $1,000. So. All right, it is an alder wood body, and this is surf blue. The pickups are Seymour Duncan Antiquity 2, so they're meant to sound very like 50s, very Beach Boys style, very surfy, I guess. The neck the fretboard is a rosewood fretboard. The electronics are all pretty standard. It was actually very, very difficult to wire because the Jazzmaster has the two separate tone controls, so it's actually, yeah, it's quite an interesting wire job on this thing, but wasn't easy. The strings on this are Ernie Ball's 11 to 48s, and I've been using those for probably 15 years, since I was a kid. This amp is a Fender Twin Reverb. It is basically, I mean, it is the simplest job done right amp that I could ever think of. Any kind of Fender Twins with reverb, they're my favorite. They always sound good. Pretty hard to get a bad sound out of it, actually. So yeah, we swear by these. You'll see when you talk to Dan, he has one as well. I always just use the normal channel. I like the most basic, simple sound. So all these amps, actually, all this stuff all stays in America. So when we go back to Australia, we actually hire gear back in Australia. Well, I do anyway. I hire an amp for back home because I actually don't have a guitar amp back home. So yeah, all this stuff lives here in America because that's where we do the lion's share of our touring. All right, so pedal board, most important piece of the puzzle right here, the tuner, Boss TU3. This guy is like a noise suppressor because my guitar is actually quite noisy. So this actually like cuts the frequency of the out of it. It's a simple spring reverb. It just always stays on, which is what you'll see the tape all over the pedals. I do that just so this basically I don't need to change the settings, so the tape just holds it in place. This MOSFET full drive 2 is just basically a simple one-step, two-step distortion. So this is like a nice kind of TS-808 style, very indie rock, very stroke sounding distortion, and then this one kind of does a bit more of a metal for like lead solos and things like that. The digital delay DD5, this thing is it's actually like a tap. It's got a tap tempo here, so I can actually tap in the tempo of the song, and the delay will be in time with the song. And lastly, the VP Junior. It's very simple, just a volume pedal, so that can cut off effects and cuts off the sound completely. I mean, like, most of these are kind of just on all the time. The delay probably is the one that can really like change up the sound in my effects chain, like everything. Like a reverb and a distortion is not going to do that much. It just sounds like it sounds. The delay, I guess, is where it can really enhance the effect and make something sound cooler than just a basic sound. And the delay does like kind of either do like quarters, or you can like do triplets, so you can do it in time and then have the triplets jumping around the sound a bit more. So it's kind of cool. It's a fun pedal to play with. But I love the volume pedal. I know it's like a simple, stupid pedal, but I just love being able to cut everything off like that. It's very handy for me when I'm singing, not to make any extra guitar noise.
Alright, how you doing? down here. This is my main axe, I guess. It's my Duesenberg. It's a Fullerton double cutaway, Carl Carton. It's a German design, American built guitar. Man, it kind of does everything. Hey, this guitar is literally, you can do a whole set from start to end, and just simple changes of tone, volume, and pickup positioning totally change the guitar tone. That's why I love it, because it's got the humbucker in the back, P90 in the front, but then you can do a blend as well. And it actually makes a huge difference. If it was plugged in, I could actually show you. But yeah, if I'm in this position, I get a really like lush, cutting sort of lead sound. It'll break my amp up. Even without distortion, it'll get my amp to break. If I stick it here, I get like a telly country kind of twang. And then if I stick one more over, this is kind of my bread and butter sound, and this is like a nice, really warm, it really activates the springs in my Fender Twin, and it just gets like this really lush kind of, almost surf rocky kind of really warm kind of tone, which I really enjoy. Yeah, but then I also trade this off with the Les Paul Custom as well, depending what song. This guitar was actually in the recording for Be Impressive pretty much the whole way through the record. I don't know, like main tracks for it would have been like Boy the Dog. I don't know, man. I can't remember. It was a while ago. But for live, it's pretty much everything. This guy comes out for more of the rocky stuff because it's heavier, and you get that real full body kind of like. It's got a bit of a higher output than this, so you get a bit more volume as well. But it's also a darker tone, whereas this one's a bit more lively and bright. Ernie Ball Slinkies and 10 to 52. This guy was a gift from Gibson. And it's a custom shop too. Let's see. So it's a rarish, well not rare, but expensive. And Gibson were nice enough when we were in Seattle, first day of the show, of the tour, they had us come in, and you can see a bunch of Gibsons up here. Let us go through the office front and just pick out what we wanted for the tour, which is really cool. This guy's cool, solid, heavy, meaty guitar with an ebony neck. The ebony neck's cool because it again makes the guitar sound quite dark, which is kind of the opposite of the Duesenberg, which is not dark. So yeah, I go to this guy for songs like Not Ready Anymore. I need more like a psychedelic rock, like very effects heavy kind of tone, and it's cool because it's pretty neutral sound. So it doesn't have too much character to it, which is good. And I use this sometimes on Out of My Head. I used pretty much the exact same guitar on the Today Show for Out of My Head when we played that performance. It fits the new theme of our record, which is black, white and gold. They're standard Les Paul humbuckers. I'm not sure exactly specifically which ones they are, because I didn't custom order the guitar, it was just given. So I'm not 100% sure, but I mean Les Paul Customs have their standard Les Paul Custom humbuckers in them, and that's these guys. So you'll see here it says rhythm. That activates these two tone pots. So you got volume here, and you got tone here. I actually use them quite a bit. So if you wind your tone down, you get a more jazzy kind of tone, more blues as you open her up, and then volume. This guitar is actually super sensitive to volume. So if I wind this back from 10 to say 7, it'll keep me in the clean territory, which is kind of cool. And I do tend to kind of ride between that and 10. And then the lead switch I don't really use that much on this because it's just too Led Zeppelin for my playing. I'm not good enough. But yeah, and then I use this last guy for any acoustic stuff, which is one song in the set at the moment. And that'll be coming out of this cage tonight in the last song. And that's a really nice acoustic. So I start my chain, it's my guitar lead here in a Z-Vex Super Hard Dog, like exactly Vex. And Super Hard Dog is just like a boost, basically. And then I end my chain with a second Super Hard Dog for extra boost. So when I'm playing solos and stuff, this is the guy I activate. This remains on the whole time, it kind of compresses the tone as well. And then obviously got the TU2 by Boss. But then these guys are where sort of the magic happens. So I got a Verbzilla and I got this guy like decayed out almost all the way. So you get a really dreamy sort of super reverby sound for swells and effects and stuff during tracks. And then the Echo Park is cool because I can sort of tap my timing into it that I want, or I can rapid fire it by hand. This guy's really cool. It adds some sort of like, I don't know, because it's analog, it's not actually digital, it warps my sound like a tape player does. So as I'm doing effects, it does one echo and delay, but it also modulates the sound, so it's kind of got a very unique voice. And we got the Jekyll and Hyde, which, I don't know, I don't use it too much, but yeah, it's basically just an overdrive and a distortion. And when you put the two on, it's pretty crazy. I use it for like big solo parts and washes and stuff, but generally I let the guitar do most of the work, playing with tone and pickup positioning in terms of how dirty or clean I'm going to be playing. And then this is just added if I need like a little bit more cut to a track. So if I'm doing, you know, like a super lead part or something, then we'll activate this guy and this guy as well at the same time. And that's it. I keep it pretty simple, man. It's mostly in the right hand. Everything's going on in the guitar in the right hand. So then we got the Fender Twin Reverb amp. It's really cool. Got this a while ago. I used that, or I got a Fender Vibro King, but the Vibro King's just too heavy and it's too powerful. Vibro King's like 90 watts and it's hand-to-hand sold and it's all A-class. Whereas this one's, I think, about 60, 50 watt. Perfect for live, man. I only run it at 2.5. And it's fucking loud at 2.5, but it's not dirty yet. So, yeah, not much else to say about that. It's pretty standard. It's got the Jensens in it. And, yeah, 2x12. It's good. It's a workhorse, man. We've had this amp out for 3 tours. I've never had to service it. No valves are going. It's just great. Love it. Very well built amp. Good tone. Really nice. Complements the guitars really well. This is my favorite thing in the whole rig. My Akai MPK 249 is the best keyboard. I love it. I do a lot of filtering, sampling. Everything's run off the digital things. I'm using VST. Everything's running out of main stage. But the thing I love the most about this keyboard is the keys are weighted. But also I've got all my sample pads here as well. So while I'm actually playing synthesizers, I can be triggering samples at the same time in between the lines as well. So I can do a lot with that. It's also got a tap tempo and an arpeggiator, which I use, so I can actually tap out my timing of the track in time of lock and then activate an arpeggiator, and I can latch it so I can just be hitting one note at a time and just keep carrying those notes around. And it's got a modulator as well and a bender. I don't know, man. It's just kind of the most reliable, unbreakable. It doesn't do anything other than just be reliable and let me play comfortably on what I'm doing, which is freaking awesome. And it does it really well.
Hey, I'm Lachlan, and I'm from the Griswolds, and this is a drum kit, and I'm sitting on it. It is a Ludwig Classic Maple from a year that I'm not sure, probably new, and it's blue. It looks kind of pretty. It's been with us for a minute. We've done a handful of tours on it, and it's we kicked it around and it's still working. So that's good. I've always liked Ludwigs because I just like the look of them, because I was a big Beatles fan like everyone else. And this one kind of looks like Ringo's kit. So that's what made me do it, but now I think all of my kits are Ludwig. I have 3, and this is, yeah, they're all the same brand, so they're good. I'm not really fussed about what the wood is or anything like that. I mean, you make a drum kit out of plastic and it still sounds good, so I'm not too fussed. This one looks good, sounds great. The snare drum is another Ludwig Acrylite, which is another new one. And it sounds really good. I like it because it's quiet and I hit loud, so it doesn't like overtake everything. That's cool. All the hardware I think is DW-ish, sort of. I don't know, it's a bit of a mongrel at this point. The kick drum is a normal 22 by 18 inch. This is 12 by 10, I think. I prefer a 13, but it was a 12 when I bought it, so we're just gonna stick with it. That's a 16 by 16 floor tom, and the snare drum is 14 inches by 6, and it's rusting because gator cases make things rust for some reason. So that sucks. Oh well. I have no idea what's on the bottom heads of these because I haven't looked at them since we bought it. I assume they're see-through. That's all I know. I'm terrible with this stuff. Vintage Emperor on the toms, I guess. And I use the Evans 360 one because it lasts a really long time. It doesn't break quickly when I beat the crap out of it. It also doesn't need too much like moon gel or anything, so I hate having tape all over the drums, so anything that makes it sound dead is good for me. So the cymbals are all TRX brand. I have a deal with them and they've been good to me. So I really like these cymbals. I wanted cymbals that sounded like the Zildjian K hybrid ones, and these sound like it. Basically, they just get out of the way. They're really quick. I never really ride on anything, so it's good to just hit it, and it sounds like a crash cymbal, and it goes away. So sound guys usually tend to like them, which is good. So it's an 20-inch crash, an 18-inch crash, and 14-inch hats, and I think I've got them pretty well taped underneath, just because, yeah, as I said, I like them to get out of the way of the sound pretty quick. Nothing worse than like hearing a vocal with cymbals in it. And I use the Roland SPDSX. I play it a little bit, but mainly it's for the kick and snare triggers throughout the show, which are the Roland, that thing, and this thing that's on the snare, which I think they're pretty standard. But these ones are good. The old Roland ones I didn't like because they broke a lot and they're made out of like a lighter plastic. But these ones you can, you know, hit it and knock them around and like accidentally put them in the cases with the trigger still on and they still work. Yeah, and so I run a kick and snare trigger throughout the whole show, and the kick's mainly the same, but the snare drum sounds change from the album. Like, we'll basically just take a snare drum from the album and paste that over the live one, and sometimes it sounds cool and sometimes it sounds shitty, but we fix it somehow, thanks to this guy. He makes it all sound good. Yeah, that's it, and that's not set up at the moment. There will be a laptop here running Ableton Live, running backing tracks because we don't know how to make music, so backing tracks help us very much. So this is a company called Inferno Music, and this is a friend of mine, Tim, who works in Australia importing stuff, and he imports the TRX cymbals. And he just started making sticks, and these things are awesome. I kind of famously break sticks really quickly, and these last longer than any other stick I've had, so sold. And they look like a drum kick, the stick, and they sound like it when you're counting songs in, so that's all that really matters. But yeah, they last really long, so good stuff. Yeah, this is a shirt, it's grey. It's from a store called Cotton On in Sydney. The pants are from H&M. I'm wearing Doc Martens, the sporting shoe of most shitty drummers. Yeah, I think that's the rig. Alright, thanks for checking out this stuff. We are the Griswolds, and check out our album High Times for Low Lives.